Hey folks, Nas here. We've had a lot of stuff happen this week. A lot of news, updates, polls, patches. With all that being said, let's get into some of this real quick and we'll try to get it all covered, right? The developers over Mainframe, they drop a poll on us, right? And they're basically saying, hey, we're looking at future things that we'd like to work on for you guys. You know, we know verse 5 is right around the corner. This is some stuff that we're going to work on afterwards. And they kind of talk about how there's different things that they can work on. Most of the stuff that they've got listed here is quality of life, just little tweaks and changes to the game to make things a little bit better. They real quickly say that there's no ETA on these things. Some of these things are going to be easier to implement than others. And it's not to say that this is the only stuff that they're going to be working on. A lot going on. This is just some stuff. I think they're polling us to see what kind of things interest us. So let's real quick, let's take a look at what we've got going on here. And basically the poll is still live on the official Discord. If you go under announcements, scroll back to 11/10/2025, you'll see the message right here. And you can pick 5 things that you are the most interested in, okay? They've also, if you look over to the side and you'll see feedback, if you go to the feedback category, there's a feedback thread for this poll as well, where you can explain why you picked the 5 things that you picked and why they mean so much to you. Okay, so let's hit this. So of the 5 choices that we have, master crafting. For those of you that didn't watch the developer video back in the summer that El Tari did, they talked about master crafting, and basically, like whenever you do crafting of an item, you get the little bar, right? And if you get the halfway point, get past that, it's a success. If not, it's a failure. Well, what they want to do is, so if you take that bar all the way to the end, what does that mean? Well, in this case, what that is going to mean is it's going to be a mastercraft item, and mastercraft items will have an increased item power. So it's another way to boost your damage, boost your healing, defenses, and that sort of thing. So it wasn't one of my top 5, but I know a lot of people have picked it. So going after that, we have slash commands. A lot of people remember the games like WoW and stuff where you could do like slash p invite Fred, and you could party invite Fred, remotely. There's a lot of things right now where you pretty much have to be sitting on top of the person to invite to party, invite to clan. You've got to like work your way through the little chat dialogue to be in the right channel. So one of the things they want to do is add slash commands, so you can do all that there. 3 here, add a new quality tier for trees. So currently we have sapwood and heartwood. So they're asking, hey, do you want us to add a new tier of tree or new tier of wood for more decorative building items and things of that nature? After that, we have add the proper corrupted animals back into the game. This replaces the placeholder boars that are spawned instead of the corrupted animals. Back in early access before verse 1, you would see roaming packs of critters, different kinds of wolves, different kinds of boars, all in like a big heap, especially when you're in the wildlands and stuff. So I feel like that maybe that's what they're talking about there. After we get past that, there's several things regarding consumables, alchemy, baking, charcuterie. They've been talking about revamping these 3 or 4, called charcuterie and cooking revamp. keep this in mind because this comes into deal with the patch that dropped yesterday. So they're talking about, changing recipes, changing the content, and all that. These were some of the things that I thought was good. I thought baking and possibly cooking, baking especially because the skill advancement in it is kind of crap, and the consumables that come out of it are meh. So some of it's good, but for the most part, until you get to the very end, there's not a whole lot there for you to really work with. So I'd kind of like to see some changes there. Combat balances, update the spells and NPCs overall. Combat spells and abilities need a balance pass. NPCs need a stat rebalance and some simple behavior changes that make them a little bit more tactical in combat. That seems like a pretty decent thing. Faction relic updates. Some relics are quite inaccessible, and we like to make them easier to obtain. Related to the loot tables mentioned earlier, but this needs a concerted effort when it comes to NPC distribution, which makes some of the faction relics very hard to collect. So, it makes a big impact on gear, whether or not you get those rare pieces of gear that you want and stuff. So that would be a nice update. Fletching revamp. Now they right off the bat, they throw expectation management. A first pass on this would not add spells to bows. So every time we get a new batch of players into the valley, there's always somebody asking about bows and why they don't have skills like the rest of the weapons. And we always have to say they're working on it. So what they're saying here is this would not bring those new weapon skills to the bow. That's still a work in progress. This would include fixing the XP gain for bows, revisit the recipes and the content produced by fletching, is what they're saying. Jewel crafting revamp, revisit the recipes and content produced by jewel crafting, give stats to jewelry. This was a big one for me. I wanted to see this. Right now, jewelry is a durability sink, and that's all. Something you use your silver ingots for. So there's that. This one I was a big fan of. Readable lore books, fragments that you can find from loot. Find lore on the pages and also use them to craft books. We've been wanting stuff like knickknacks and stuff to throw around the house and make the house feel more, homey and stuff. These types of things would be freaking awesome. So, rebalance durability of gear. Weapons get damaged a lot faster than clothing and armor. Weapons should get damaged a little bit slower, but armor a bit faster. Healing staves don't lose durability like other weapons do. This needs to be fixed. I agree on all of that. It wasn't one of my top 5, but I do agree that all this stuff needs to be worked on. And let me throw this out here. All these things that are in this list, if they're on this list, they know it's something that needs to be worked on. They're just wanting 5 things to work on right now. And all of this stuff will eventually be addressed. It may be in 2 months, it may be in a year, but hopefully all of this stuff will eventually be addressed. So keep that in mind. This was a big one for me because this is one of my favorite things, is the wolf caves. And it says, update caves and their denizens. The caves are our oldest PvE content, and we'd like to get around to populating them with more interesting encounters. So right now, there's 3 models, I think, 3 different models for the caves. You run in, you find some wolves, you whack them, you skin them. More to follow on that with the patch that dropped yesterday. And occasionally you get a named wolf, so you can get some named collar stone things for some gear. But I enjoy those things, and I'd really like to see a refreshed update to those. Update the crafting XP, make it more balanced so that you don't level with crafting only the same item over and over and over, but get more variety in crafts. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like you pretty much are going to pick the item that requires the least amount of materials but still gives you a decent amount of XP. Becomes a little bit of a balancing act, but at the same time it gets kind of boring. And there's no reason to craft other pieces of gear unless you're selling them on the auction or the marketplace. And even then, there's only so much stuff you can sell. So that would be a nice little update. I don't think it's going to be the update that everyone wants. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, I crafted 5 chess pieces and now I'm 35. No. So keep that out of your head. Another consumable revamp, winemaking and brewing. Normal attacks shouldn't pause stamina regeneration. Be a good thing for the tanks, you know. And then status effect mouse overs. Add a mouse over info on status effects so you know what they do and what their source is. Yeah, because a lot of times you're fighting stuff and you're like, why is my health dropping so hard? And all you can see is some kind of weird icon. Maybe it's poison. Maybe it's a spirit drain. Who knows? But, you know, that's something that could really be worked on, especially for your healers if they have the cleansing alb so they can renew stuff. So those are the things. Down below that, there's the poll. You pick the letter corresponding with the thing. If we look at it currently, this is 11/14. You'll notice that the poll closes on November 17th. So you still have time to weigh in on this and change your vote. So you can see that master crafting is like 3,000. And H is combat balance, update to spells and NPCs. O, almost 2,800, update to crafting XP. What else we got? K, the jewel crafting revamp. A lot of people chomped on that one. And then what else we got? N, that's the wolf cave, I believe. Yeah, update the caves and their denizens. And then probably follow up. This is, I think, number 6 is E, which is the alchemy revamp. So right now, yeah, man, the master crafting is in the lead. I didn't vote for that one because of the power creep. I don't think we need power creep just yet. Everyone's looking to find that way to get just a little bit more juice, so they hit a little bit harder. I'm not there. So anyway, go here, vote, make your voice heard. Go to the feedback channel, explain why you picked what you picked. Who knows? Maybe you'll change somebody's mind. Maybe you'll change mine. Okay. So with that out of the way, so that was like Monday or Tuesday, right? Yesterday morning, Thursday morning, the 13th, we wake up to patch notes. Verse 4, patch 4. And what do we get? The grace for plots. So with this instance, you can have an additional plot or a plot that you don't have to use a plot token on. You can, or I'm not exactly sure how I word this. You're not paying the subscription for this token, for this plot. You're using grace to purchase and maintain the plot. You can have one grace plot. So keep that in mind. So they go in and they explain everything. You can now claim and maintain one plot using in-game currency. You spend 400 grace to claim a plot. It's valid for 1 month. You can have only one grace plot. There is no way to auto-renew, set the plot to auto-renew. You're going to have to go in and purchase a plot token every month for that. Or you extend the grace. And I guess, is that at the top there? Yeah. Well, this is the new plot window, I guess. So, If you don't own a grace plot, you can also extend the duration of an existing plot using grace, and then that plot becomes a grace plot. And to be nice, what they've done is they gave everyone 300 grace to begin with. To in case you kind of blown it all doing crafting and gathering and boarding all over the world. Not mentioning any names, Nos. So, and then they basically go to say, moving forward, all new players starting packs after the maintenance will receive 100 grace in their first login. So they're giving new players a little nudge to keep them going. This was a big thing that kind of come out of nowhere. Well, not really. We had been talking about it, but wasn't expecting it so soon. I actually wasn't expecting this whole patch so soon. We wanted to make it easier for players to share gold from PvE. We've added a round robin rule, which is now the rule for gold distribution in parties. In the future, we also want to allow parties to choose their preferred loot rules for parties. So they call this a round robin, and I'm not. It's not what I thought when they said round robin. So basically what happens is you go in, you fight a bunch of, like, say you fight like 4 Inquisition or something like that, right? You kill them off. One of your party members goes and they start looting. As they start looting, the gold that's pulled then gets distributed as equally as possible. I think it's kind of sketchy, to everyone in the party. So everyone should get loot or gold, and then whatever loot the person who looted gets, like, the hides or silver ingots or whatever and stuff. But the gold gets distributed amongst all the party members. Now it's not an equal split, and maybe this is where the round robin part comes in. So we tried it out last night. And what was happening was, there were 6 of us, and sometimes you'd loot something and it only dropped like 5 gold, and 5 people would get gold and 1 person wouldn't. So we ran for like 2 or 3 hours, and at the end of the night, we all looked at our gold totals, and we were all sitting within about 5% of each other, 5 or 6% of each other as far as total gold goes. You might have one person have like 10 or 15 gold more than somebody else does. I think realistically that's the best you can hope for, given that you're dealing with solid numbers. We have 1 gold. It's not like you have copper, silver, and gold coins, because then you could split those up and it might be an even split then. But with the way we're doing it, all we have are 1 gold pieces, as far as the units, and you can only split it, you can only split 5 into whole numbers. So overall, I think it's it's pretty good. I think it'll help random groups get together and go do stuff with not people worrying about getting left out on gold and stuff. And you still have to worry about like the actual physical loot, but at least if anything, you'll get gold. After the party loot, we have party members on the compass. So now you'll see in the compass there'll be little circles that show up as your party members and stuff, so you can see where they are in the compass and you can start heading that direction. Resources. This is kind of funny. So they went in and they upped the size of some of the stuff so it's easier to find. I think they went a little crazy with the strawberries because they look like big old honking, like, homegrown tomatoes. I mean, they are like softball-sized tomatoes. There is some HMO being used, and it's not Miracle Grow. Somebody needs to check their protein powder because I think someone stole some. Because these things are freaking huge. I haven't seen any blueberries yet. I just saw the strawberries last night when we were running to hit some Inquisition towers, and it was like, holy smokes, man. Those things were huge. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of that stuff looks like. If you've seen something kind of crazy, hit me up in the comments and stuff, because that's kind of fun. Gold loot. I think this stemmed from the party loot. So we got a lot more gold last night killing Inquisition than we probably should have. So they have adjusted gold loot, and I think it's because they want people to actually get stuff whenever there's a split. So I think that's what's going on there. And they've harder enemies drop more gold, and the named enemies, they drop a lot of gold. We were killing like named Inquisition and stuff, and we'd get like, in a party of 6, we'd get like 14 gold, a piece or something like that. So that was really nice. NPC loot along the same lines. They've gone through and changed out the loot tables for a lot of stuff. I don't remember us getting any like alchemy tinctures, distillates. Is that the right word? I'm floundering here. When you take the plant, you put it in the distiller, the juice that comes out that's used to make the potion, that stuff. It used to be like after like 5 minutes, you were like tossing all these little bottles on the ground because your bags are full of this stuff. So they fixed that. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff. We got like yeast out of stuff. We got silver and aurum ingots still. I think we saw like wrought iron pieces, like wrought iron arrowheads and things of that nature. Just not stuff we were used to seeing and stuff. Animal loot, they've changed some of this stuff. There's some big changes here. So animal droppings, pun intended. These guys have too much fun writing these patch notes, let me say. Have been too similar, and the different amounts of raw materials that each animal dropped were too many, causing players frustration with inventory space. All animals have new loot tables defined, and a handful of recipes that rely on the materials have been adjusted. That is an understatement. All animals that dropped carcasses previously still do, with one exception. Remember I was talking earlier about the wolf caves? Yeah, wolf meat's no longer on the menu. Sorry, boys. Guess you're going to have to eat a hobbit. So the wolf cuts have been replaced with chamois cuts. Chamois cuts? I don't know. ShamWow cuts? You go with what you want. Goats. Okay, we're talking about goats. So now the goats, where before when you killed a goat, all you got was like wool and some hides and stuff now. Now you get meat to do your butchering. So, sinew has been renamed boar sinew and only drops from boars. Duh. Boar sinew has been added to a couple of the leatherworking recipes, like up here where they talked about recipes being changed. Intestines have been renamed to deer intestines, and they only drop from deer and stags. Hooves only drop from deer, stags, and I'm not saying that word, goats. And wool only drops from goats. Animal fat and suet no longer drop from animals. Instead, they come from butchering. I mean, realistically, where's a pig going to keep a little jar from? Bears have a much greater chance of dropping animal relics, collarbones, and can drop multiple ones. So I wish they wouldn't say, well, I guess relics is still the same. T1 boars, foxes, rabbits, badgers, wolves, and bears additionally drop bone fragments. One thing to note, and I don't think it's in these. So going back to all this stuff, they have renamed a lot of the animals. So like a tier 1 boar is now like a young boar, and then there's like an old boar, and then I don't know if the other ones are elders or what. And then like the wolves, there's like a some sort of stalker, I think, is like the tier 3 wolf. So they've renamed all of those critters and stuff. So so keep that in mind. So if you see something running across and it says something stalker, don't get all excited that that's some kind of name thing. That's just a tier 3 wolf that might try to eat you. So then we come down to animal skinning. This I thought was a big thing here. When your skinning skill reaches 10 higher than the tier at which you could start skinning that hardness level, you get 50% more hides. Approximately 50% more hides. So if you're skinning at tier 3 and you skin a tier 2 critter, you're going to get 50% more hides and stuff. So I have wondered if this isn't a test to see if perhaps maybe at some point they introduce this into mining, so the higher level blacksmith and stuff, who mines, can get his bronze ingredients quicker, so he's not eating up all of the bronze materials and stuff for his like buckles and nails and that sort of stuff. Just throwing that out there. Wrap your head with a little bit of tinfoil before you get too deep into that one. Smooth out the progressively better hide drops across all the animals. Worth noting that while tier 3 boars drop fewer hides than before, wolves drop better hides and bears drop a ton of hides now. Haven't killed a bear yet, so that'll be an interesting experiment. Rebalance all skinning yields from animals. Some of the hide size assignment changed, so here's a complete overview. So they break down like what drops what and so forth. A lot of crafting recipe changes. Grain mills have been causing bakers and brewers across the world a lot of grief. The Baking Guild has passed legislation to reduce the unlock skill of baking tools to 6 and their difficulty to 13. Thank you, Baking Guild. So they go through a lot of the changes here. They've reduced the cost. I know a lot of armor smiths have been crying, and for good reason, about the amount of materials they were going through while they were leveling their gear. So they reduced the cost of wire, iron wire and steel wire by half, and now they produce in batches of 4 at the cost of 2 ingots of the respective material instead of batches of 5 at a cost of 5 ingots. So nice little reduction there. I noticed that last night. There's an alternative recipe for glue using bone fragments, and an alternative recipe for fine glue using bone fragments. Horn buttons are now made from antlers, not hooves. Duh. Leather string now requires boar sinew. Leather handles now require boar sinew. Lime mortar, at this point, doesn't really matter. But lime mortar now only takes 5 water instead of 20. A little too late on that bus, I think. Linseed oil now requires tallow. Linseed oil now unlocks at skill 7 as a difficulty of 16. Horn pin and needles now unlock at 7 and have a difficulty 16. Charcuterie has been renamed, dun dun dun, to butchering. So the former charcuteriers are now butchers. Butchers have spent most of their time in carpentry as the butcher's shop in order to craft enough chests to store the overflow of various animal parts that spill out of butchered carcasses. Most butchering recipes for parting carcasses have been drastically simplified, producing a primary cut, such as shanks, neck, and flank, without the progressively increasing amount of byproducts. Thank you. So meat chunks are still produced as a byproduct of carcass parting recipes up to skill 16. Butchering any carcass produces bone fragments. Butchering deer and goats produces suet. Butchering boar and bear produces animal fat. Remember, they said that you no longer get those two things out of whenever you just kill them. So now you actually have to butcher them because, those boars were having a hard time carrying all those jars. So another quality of life, standard crafted components now initially take a little less time to craft. And as you gain mastery in the skill and the recipe becomes trivial, crafting time does decrease further down to 1/5 when fully mastered. One of our guys was saying like some of his really easy mastered stuff was like basically like 1 second for a crafting time. They changed some stack sizes for things. Let me give you a little tip on this stuff. When the stack sizes change, they don't automatically take up less space in your boxes and in your inventory. You need to take that stuff out, and once you pull it from the chest or what have you, it will restack and condense, and then you can put it back into your boxes. So keep that in mind. They changed some of the miracles. The minor favor reward for skinning has been updated to complement the new skinning and yield better, new animal skinning and yield better. And it also affects raw materials from animals, so stags offer more antlers and goats offer more wool. This was a kind of a weird thing that happened. Item repair. You can now repair your stuff at any crafting table. It doesn't matter if it's tier 1, tier 2, armor crafting, weapon crafting, fletching. I ran over to an armor crafting table or a weaponsmith table to fix a pickaxe, and all my gear popped up in the repair thing. I was like, nice little quality of life thing. Names. The charcuterie has been renamed to butchering. The goats, boars, and wolves, the different tiers have new unique names. Covered that a little bit. And then there's some more stuff here. Fix the genetic... I haven't seen this yet, but fix the genetic makeup of bears. Black bears are now tier 3. Brown bears are tier 4 and slightly larger. And gray bears are tier 5. The largest of the 3. Yes, you read that right. Tier 5. So, they will eat you fast, I would imagine. So, now, with this patch, there's a whole new list of known issues, and that popped up this morning. They revised it. There has been some issues with trees still floating in the air. Some of the animal NPCs and stuff are doing weird things. There's still some teleporting NPCs. Some of the NPCs have a lot of health when they shouldn't, and it's really random. So keep that in mind when you pull something. But overall, it was a pretty good patch. A lot of good things came out of it, so pretty happy with that. So, last but not least, and this was this morning, more information on verse 5, talking about the feudal sovereignty, basically saying, giving us kind of a 30,000 foot view of what's going to work, how some of this new PV So basically what they're doing is they're giving us like a 30,000 foot view of how some of this new PvP stuff is going to work. Basically, allow a clan leader to claim long contested lands, namely the mysterious Leoness, through the restoration of feudal shrines. Claiming a shrine will open building rights in previously unbuildable areas, providing new travel and respawn options, and establish a visible presence on the world map through the heraldry of your house. Ownership, however, comes with responsibility. Maintaining a shrine will require steady upkeep, and neglect may see your claims fade back into the wild. So if you're looking here, you can see that it looks like I am guessing there's going to be some sort of new resource that you're going to have to dump into these things. Maybe it's gold. I have no idea. They really haven't given us that information yet. So, so we have like a little. This is a made up map, and I didn't see this note to begin with. So when I was looking at this, I was like, this place looks really familiar. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is an ancient. We're gonna get the claim land in ancient, and then it was like, oh, never mind. So I have to wrap that tinfoil a little bit tighter around my head. So they go in to talk about locks, doors, and protection. With construction extended into more dangerous provinces, doors, crafters, and other interactable items on these plots will require you to have more permissions to the plot. Building a safe perimeter around the shrine in your control will be essential, and the gate will block others from entering should you remember to lock it. Where'd I leave my keys? And then they go into a little bit more, talking about more stuff coming, winter and beyond. It's like as the year draws close, winter-themed recipes and decorations are also in the works to bring warmth to the colder months. Beyond the seasonal cheer, additional additions are being prepared and will be introduced before the end of the year. New decorations, building props, increased dungeon difficulty. More details on this point to come later. You can see in the video, like, we've got plates, we've got pitchers, there's a stew pot, new candle holders and stuff, little buckets, all kinds of new stuff to like make your house actually feel like home. So definitely looking forward to this sort of stuff. So changes coming to Pax Dei not as a single moment, but as a series of unfolding choices. Whether you seek dominion, community, or simple peace in your homestead, the age of feudal sovereignty will test the bonds that hold the world together. We'll provide more details on the next content update and the schedule as soon as we're ready to deploy it to our public test shard, Arcadia, for the adventurers who'd like to give it a go and test the new features before it gets to the live shards. So, like I said, there's been a pile of information dropped this week. This is like some big stuff. The stuff in the polls, things that they want to know what to work on. The patch that dropped yesterday was huge. They're going to continue working on stuff. This is them showing a commitment to the players that, hey, we're here and we're sticking around for a while. So hopefully this will settle some fears about the game kind of dying and that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind. I'm really looking forward to seeing what all they give us. It sounds like the next month and a half is really going to be pretty exciting with more stuff coming. This looks great. But so if you have any questions or anything we've covered today, drop me a comment or question in the comment section of the video. I'll try to answer it as fast as I can. Sometimes I miss things, so I apologize if I miss your comment or your question. But I'll eventually find it. I will. So, as usual, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I've got more stuff coming. I know you guys have been clamoring for more stuff. I've got some more crafting stuff coming. I've got some more building stuff coming. I know you guys are really looking for some more building things. So I will be putting that out soon. Hopefully this weekend I'll get some more stuff out. But yeah, if you have questions, drop them. I'll see what I can do about getting to them. Until then, enjoy the game, have fun, be nice.